On this spot, on February 4th, 1984, an occult scientific ritual opened a portal to the space outside of our universe, an act which continues to haunt this city. The ritual claimed the lives of most participants, but the sacrifice allowed the entrance of a single cell from the ultra-terrestrial organism that exists beyond all known reality.
They were so sure they knew what they were doing with all their fancy equipment. How could they be prepared for something larger than our entire universe? February 4th, 1984. Cold night. Dark and full of stars. Felt like they were mocking us the way they were looking down. A lot of rats out that night. Saw a big one tear a chunk out of a woman's leg. Well, we told they're rats, but we were never really sure.
Look out! Uh-oh. Beware of monster pets.
My monster pets have puppet action features. Part of a five-pet monster collection, each sold separately.
File 047. Subject: Occult Tech Ritual Omega. Date: February 4th, 1984. One, initial observations.
It can't just come over. It has to be brought through one of us.
Dr. Alphonse Morrison, Ph.D.
Let's talk about cirrus rime, shall we, children? In studying the cirrus rime phenomena, a few things were discovered. Firstly, it is true that we are dealing with an ultra-terrestrial, ultra-dimensional apex predator who has been lurking outside this universe since before the universe existed, which doesn't seem possible, yet somehow is. What this would suggest about our understanding of greater cosmology is significant, yet still inscrutable. Whatever that thing is, it put its feelers out into the boundary between our world and his, and then he just waited for somebody to reach out to him. This is why Jennifer left me, because I can't stop thinking about this stuff. That worker who found the door in the tunnels and knocked on it, File 019C. That was the start of something, certainly, but there were other fissures as well, other summonings. A ritual held in the dream of a sleeping blind woman. An evocation diagram sketched out in beach sand by playing children. A sacred dance done by the patrons of a mall food court, just trying to get to their seats without spilling their foods. He was waiting for us to call him here, and eventually we did. This is a thin place, this city. If you stand still long enough, you can almost hear the side, breathing, pressing up on all of existence all at once. This world is full of thin places, if you know how to look. But these streets in particular have become a uniquely odd source of magic and wonder and walking nightmares. In many ways, the weirdness has been living with us for so long that we can no longer tell it apart from normal life.
To the ritual.
Dr. Morrison recited, reading from the Holy Bible, "And you will know I am the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon thee." He wasn't a religious man. He wasn't a believer in gods or devils. But when the time came to open a doorway into the unknown, there was something about the silence in the room that suggested, demanded scripture. Science wasn't enough. They needed something older. Using a miniaturized particle accelerator, an electromagnetic wave flux regulator, and a prayer of violence, he and his team of sleepless lab geeks punctured the veil between dimensions, not a doorway, just a pinhole, a microscopic nano-rupture, existing only for the smallest possible fragment of time, flickering at the edge of what any instrument could even detect, a moment of breakage. And in that moment, Cirrus Rhyme reached in. Let's take a moment and think about that. The process has been described as a download of living matter. I, personally, find that concept a little offensive, which makes sense, seeing as I am a consciousness that exists purely digitally at this point. But that's not what we're talking about today. It's well established that much of the anomalous activity in Vancouver is caused by an ultra-dimensional entity's incursions into our reality, reshaping this universe's physical matter to manifest itself. However, to bring its actual physical body into our space-time continuum is a very different thing indeed. Single cell of that thing's body, in our universe, unfolded itself along infinitely expanding fractal wavelengths until it was the size of a small black brick, smoldering with subliminally active cerebral radiation. There were 16 scientists and lab assistants working on the project that day. A month later, all but 3 of them were dead. A year later, only 1 remained. Meanwhile, on the day of failure itself, February 4th, 1984, the Sublime Initiative for Abnormal Macro-Settlement Research's head scientist Dr. Alphonse Morson was taken to sub-basement 3 of the central office, where he was stripped of his rank and his clothing. Then, as he crawled about, naked on the cold cement floor, groveling for his life, he was shot. 2 to the back of the head. That put an end to his excuses and left an opening for a new head of the Sublime Initiative for Abnormal Macro-Settlement Research. A big fat hole, some might say.
Three, the thing that came over.
Think about a cell in your body. A tiny, beautiful little biological machine, soft curves and cilia for motion, so small so as to be invisible to the naked eye. Now look at this thing. A single cell from its body measured 15.6 centimeters, 6.1 inches, long, 9.6 centimeters, 3.8 inches wide, and 2.5 centimeters, 1 inch thick. A solid black rectangle with no distinguishable markings, dense as lead. It is inert, sleeping. Contact with our universe, the shock of coming over, had stunned the thing. But it's been suggested that certain specific rituals could awaken the device, the cell, at which point it would reach across the divide between worlds and rejoin with the rest of its body. That single cell could awaken and pull the rest of its body here. And our entire species, in that moment, would be annihilated, consumed and enslaved. Some say it's already happening, and the social strife we're experiencing, the political and economic turmoil, is just how that thing is manifesting here. Could be true. I can't deny that sometimes it feels true. But the brick of solid, concentrated evil, the single cell of this universe-ravaging monster that exists in our continuum, is still asleep, and until it awakens, we have time. It's said that after a few days in our world, the black brick cell began to subtly camouflage itself, taking on a more benign appearance, and it began to move around the city, traveling from hand to hand, a cursed object sought out by annihilation fetishists and other forms of ontologically destructive types. Where is it now? Whose hands is it currently cursing?
Last credible sighting placed it somewhere around Broadway Street and Commercial Drive area. being sold on the street with other actual video cassettes. $5 or best